Top 5 Matthew Meyer transfer landing spots. Part of these are, where he was maybe offered to go or have pursued him. But in my opinion, the best spots for him to land. Number 5, USC. This is a team that's been pretty good over the last couple of years, and he can roll in there and improve his offensive game. Look, his defensive game improved a lot over the last couple of seasons, especially last year. His offense was the one that took the dip. USC can maybe help develop him on that side of the ball, but I don't know, and I think he would probably enjoy Southern California given his personality.
I wouldn't have been on my list. I wouldn't have thought about them, but yeah, they're not a bad place. I wonder if he'd fit in L.A.
Yeah, I think he'd probably do okay in L.A. I think he'd get the NIL deal that he's probably looking for at this stage. And, yeah, I mean, I've seen them mentioned as a team. I don't know how well they would help his offensive game. I'd leave that to the basketball minds out there. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of a fit as far as lifestyle and NIL and all that kind of jazz, L.A. and Southern Cal would make a lot of sense for him.
Yeah. Number 4, Illinois. Brad Underwood there. Look, they've lost Kofi Coburn to the NBA draft or to professional basketball, whatever happens there. Not that he would play that same position, but there's a lot of offense that they've got to fill. They could turn to Matt Meyer for that offense. So that, to me, and that's a team that perennially contends in the Big Ten. And after you've won a national title, which he has 2 years ago, you would think he'd want to go to a place where he could win one again. And so I think Illinois, maybe, I mean, that's kind of on the fringe of that, but certainly, they've got a good thing going there.
One, it's a good school. It's a good program. Brad Underwood's there. So he, I'm sure, knows a little bit about Matthew Meyer. They've played against Illinois, I'm sure, since Meyer's been at Baylor.
Well, I mean, they blew him out.
Yeah, I remember that, an early
2 years
season
ago,
game.
yeah.
And so, and I believe I had somebody who kind of is in the know say that would be a place, if in fact NIL is involved, that would be one of the leading candidates.
I mean, based on the reaction I saw, this was like the number 2 option for him outside of North Carolina, at least in terms of the fan base. He could reunite with Dane Danger, who was a former Baylor guy who's now with Illinois. So don't know how good of friends that they were, but if they were, then yeah, I mean, there's another connection right there for you, a former teammate from the Bears. So I've seen a lot of Illinois fans that are hopeful that this happens.
Number 3, Alabama. Look, they got some transfer guards a year ago, and they were good. They just couldn't close a lot of the time. Alabama beat Baylor, if you remember, but they needed some help closing. This is a guy, as up and down as he was at times, has been on a team that won a national championship. He's got some veteran leadership, and you add him to that mix of the guards that they have and what he can do offensively and defensively. I think that's a nice mix there.
I think, I may be mentioning the other SEC team if I mention it, but they kind of remind me of each other. I bet that's probably on your list.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
So let's go to that one.
Yes.
And just talk about them together. Number 2,
That's
Arkansas. Arkansas, Eric Musselman's doing some great things. I mean, Elite 8, 2 years in a row? I mean, look, what they're doing, Arkansas is on the cusp of maybe breaking through and doing something great. And you bring in a guy like Matthew Meyer with that experience, I think he can help you do that. They've already got some big transfers. They've already got some big recruits at Arkansas. They're doing really, really, really well there. And people like Eric Musselman, because he coached in the NBA, he knows how to tell you how to get to the NBA. There's juice there in Fayetteville. Look, if they come calling, I would at least listen.
I mean, it's a mystery how they have open scholarships available to even offer Matthew Meyer. But besides that, I mean, they're a program that's got a hot touch right now, and I'm not sure about their needs or all that. I'm not going to pretend to, but I know that every team out there could probably be better with Matthew Meyer on it. So, I mean, if there's a need for a player of his skill set and they've somehow magically got more scholarships available, then, that would be a good team to jump onto and maybe put them over the top.
I agree.
And number 1, the obvious one, and I think this is where it's going to be, is North Carolina. Because you're talking NIL opportunities. You've got a fan base that's already excited about them. The team that was in the national championship last year. This just seems to me they've lost some guys, but they need some depth. I think this is probably the best match for him and probably where he needs to go.
Did he even play well against them?
Yeah, he did. They were plus 15 when he was when he was in the game. I mean, he played well enough. Like, when he wasn't in the game, they started playing poorly. So, absolutely. Yeah, he didn't maybe play as well as he did the game before, but who did? That North Carolina game was such a bizarre one with the comeback and all. But yeah, I think North Carolina is probably where he's going to end up, and I think any of this other stuff is just window dressing.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I would put my money if I had to on where he lands. It just makes a lot of sense. Obviously, replacing Brady Manick. They're looking for a guy who can do similar things, and Matthew Myers got some of those skills. The NIL piece that you mentioned, I definitely think that's going to play a role in wherever he decides, and why not? I mean, he's a guy who's a fifth-year proven commodity, and we know he's interested in it, and I'm sure there are teams who are already getting that lined up. So if you got NIL plus a team who's right there in national championship contention, and there's a couple of those teams you mentioned on the list, but North Carolina seems to be the bluest of those blue bloods, and that would make a lot of sense for him. So that's where I expect him to end up as well.
All right, that's where all the smoke seems to be. I reached out to a guy that covers North Carolina, our friend that was on with us a lot, and he says that seems to be he seemed that there's a lot more than just smoke. That probably would be the landing spot, but who knows? All right, thanks to